much, John. Boy, they really brought in the big wigs, huh?
That is very rambling.
And there's no one sitting here, which is the weirdest part.
He's going off. I feel bad.
Sandwich John. Poor Sandwich John.
Yeah.
We hardly knew you. Okay.
Hi, ladies.
Hi. Good, how are you?
Can you guys say your name for the audio?
Riki Lindhome.
Natasha Leggero.
Alright, awesome.
Okay, so for, the uninitiated, would you like to kind of introduce your show and your parts in it?
Explain yourself.
Well, we call it, we like to describe it as like keeping up with the Kardashians if they were at Downton Abbey. If the Kardashians were at Downton.
It's a reality show set in 1902, and we're the Bellacourt family, who we're the children of a magnate. So we're new money, and our father invented magnets.
But we're trying desperately to get famous, which is really hard in 1902 because there's no technology. So we are just, prancing around town, trying to get people to talk about us, sleeping with anyone we can.
Yeah, there were two famous women at the turn of the century, Harriet Tubman and Helen Keller. So the bar is high. You have to be pretty accomplished to be famous, but we don't understand why we're not. Like, we don't get why why we just can't be as well. Yeah.
Where did the idea of this show come from? Is it something from you guys, or did someone bring the project to you?
No, it was us, yeah.
Yeah, we were just brainstorming one night, and we were drinking, yes, and we had a glass of wine, and yeah, we were just thinking what we could do, and we just came on this idea, because I was interested in this turn of the century idea, but then also maybe a reality show, and then Riki was like, well, why don't we combine them and do a reality show at the turn of the century? What would that be like? And then we went to Newport, Rhode Island, this place we had heard about, where like, at the turn of the century during the Gilded Age, 90% of the wealth in America all lived in this like tiny town, and people were just living like rappers, and they were just going crazy with their money because they got to keep all their money. So, I mean, there's so many parallels, too, because, like, we've now gotten to a point in history where people have, the very rich people have figured out how to not pay income tax again. So that's, like, we're basically living, like, Mitt Romney's family.
Yeah, I think we fought a war over that one. So, it sounds like you guys did a lot of, like, study, a lot of history. Is there a lot of authenticity in this?
There actually is, and some of the things that we were like, oh, is that too offensive? We're like, oh, but that was real. So... we can't. It's hard. Yeah, we're just like, no, that was.
I'm sure loose knickers must have come from somewhere.
What's that?
When you have loose knickers, like when your pants come down.
Oh right.
Oh,
it's got to be from there, right?
I guess so.
I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of that either. Yeah.
But we had episodes like my dog has a dinner party for the other dogs in the town, and that was something from history. Like you can Google it.
Parties?
They had these crazy dog
dinner party for 2 dogs with $200,000 at that time.
I mean, these people were you don't even understand. Like they would choose. They would like the ballroom when you go into these houses in Newport. I highly recommend it if you're ever in New York. It's like 2 hours from New York. You'll see like the ceiling will be like plastered in tortoiseshell, and they could only glue the tortoiseshell from glue that you got from killing rabbits. And so they would just kill rabbits, boil them, get the glue, and then it was like all tortoiseshell in this, and then the walls are marble. I mean, these people were crazy. One of the houses we saw had this room that was just for fixing the Ming vases that her dog would tip over. So then they just had a room that was just for gluing vases back together. I mean, these people were insane.
Yeah, Carnegie was worth, I think it was $3 billion in 1902.
Yeah.
So it's like just endless, literally endless money, and no income tax, and just endless.
And no history, like at least in Downton Abbey at the same time period, people had like, pedigrees, and they came from long lines of dukes and duchesses and the earls, and like we're just like former hillbillies who just got like $1 billion.
So where do you find the comedy in that? Is it in the...
Sounds funny to me.
It's basically the more we research, the easier the comedy was.
And even when you watch something like Downton Abbey, I mean, you see these people like staffs of servants freaking out because they're out of bedtime biscuits, but it's drama. So it's like, well, that could also be comedy if you get comedians in there. So,
do you think having this take place so long ago affords you a lot of more leadway of doing like like pushing envelopes with sort of horrendous jokes.
Absolutely. Because it's so real. Like, we play anti-suffragists, so we can be like, because we want women to have no rights, and so we just take that.
Well,
side.
we just want women to keep being able to lounge around the house and do nothing. Which, you know, there's a certain glamour to that.
Right. But yeah, we have, you know, it seemed that the biggest hatred of any race at the time was Irish people. And so we just go with it. We just run with it. You know, we have anti-Irish songs, and it's like, it was a big war at the time. And so we go with it to a point that would be completely offensive today.
Most of the servants at the time, they weren't allowed to have jobs. They weren't allowed to go on dates. They weren't allowed to have a social life. They lived in these windowless rooms. I mean, one place we went to, this house called the Elms, they had the servants on the 3rd floor, but no one was supposed to ever look at the servants. So they built a brick wall all the way around their view so that when their guests would come, you wouldn't see them. And then when you see this, it was a servants tour, and you see these servants' rooms, and you open up the window, and it's just a brick wall. And then you get out on the roof, and you see this amazing like view that no one got to see.
It was a green going right into the ocean. It was the most beautiful garden right to the ocean, and the
brick wall. And it was mostly immigrants from Australia and Ireland and Scotland and France, and these people would come, and there was actually, we learned about at the servants tour, you know, they would try to band together and have these, because I think people are a little less willing to be servants, and you know, everyone in America wants to get beyond their station, and I think that England's a little different. I think people are a little more okay, at least at the time, with like, well, I was born a butler and my grandfather was a butler and we're going to stay butlers. Yeah. So it's the American twist on it is a little, people get a little more lawless.
Yeah, no one wants their job.
So Comedy Central's come a very long way since The Man Show.
That is a good point.
Why do you think we can have these female-run, female-star type comedy shows these days?
I think we always could have, but people, some reason, didn't know it. We always could have. There's so many funny women from all the time.
And I think people are understanding that the demographic, I mean, everyone's, you know, for the longest time, everyone's obsessed with this male 18 to 34 demographic, but there was just this New York Times article with Ken Alterman, and, you know, this girl who I know, she was talking about, like, you know, I'm a 35-year-old woman, I'm married, I smoke pot, like, I want, you know, like, I'm a person, like, this is a demographic, you know, like, it's not just, like, males and then the women are all, like, what are we doing, like, baking pies?
Right.
Like, we're also smoking pot, we also want to watch funny stuff, you know, we like raunchy comedy, so it's like, and we like to, I mean, watching women is always more interesting to me than watching men, because you haven't seen women do everything. So,
but also the truth is, what they're forgetting is that 18 to 34-year-old men like watching women. They like looking at women.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know, that's just, it's not like only women watch women and men watch men.
So I think some of the research has just been a little outdated, and I think that, yeah, people obviously are interested in women.
Is there like a natural punch whenever you, as a female comic, when you kind of do something that's more traditionally like, you know, fart gags and things like that? You know, like, is there a little bit more punch when you start to go into that kind of?
I mean, I don't think like a woman can get away with a hacky joke better than a man, but I think that, you know, women. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of women who do terrible hacky jokes and a lot of women who are geniuses, and there's a lot of men who do terrible hacky jokes and there's a lot of men who are geniuses. So it's like, you know, there's just less women doing it. So, you know, but I think that's changing. But yeah, no, I think a bad joke's a bad joke.
Gotcha.
We don't shy away from shit jokes and dick jokes, and we don't shy away from that at all. We embrace it. We just try to do good ones.
Absolutely.
Is there a small bit of joy that you have in calling a show another period, knowing how many men are uncomfortable with periods and period jokes?
There's a big bit of joy about it. But it was also like, once people know what it's about, they're like, oh, another time period, got it. But we love the title.
Yeah.
We're so happy they
I think
let
I
us
got
do
it right
it.
away. I'm like,
I mean, we are dressed in bustles. And
yeah, right. Yeah.
But it is funny when I actually, two friends of mine, where I thought they knew about the show, they're like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, you know, just working on another period. And they're like, and I was like, oh, no. Like, that actually happened twice to me with different comedians where I was like, no, I'm not telling you about my,
And then you should have. Then you just should have just launched into like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Really,
Do you want to hear what's going on with my period? I'll tell you, yeah.
Do your characters have a overall arc to them, like a goal to them? I mean, are they trying to do something? Are they trying to do something?
I'm trying to marry my brother. That's my overarching goal.
she wants them to run away together, no matter what. She's hopelessly in love with him, and I really want to become famous, and I'm pretty much an idiot. So, you know, it's hard in 1902 because there's no technology. But I'm trying to bring her along with me because she's blonde. Why not?
Okay. All right.
Cool. Thank you guys. This was
Looking forward to the show.